My older sister Jessica did Running Start before me, and so she was an example that I followed. And so I remember I came to CBC, I took the exams and I passed, and I felt like just coming on campus sort of felt right. In high school I reached a point where I felt like I wasn't being challenged enough, and I remember once, it was after my first day at CBC, I remember I came home and I started crying. And I wasn't crying because I was sad, I was crying because I was really excited, and I think there were tears of joy because I felt like that day my professors had sort of introduced the classes to me, and I felt like this was going to be a place where I was going to be really challenged. So I think one thing that I really loved was my professors. So I think they were incredibly knowledgeable about the content of the courses, but I think they were also incredibly passionate about serving the particular community who comes to community college. And so for me that was incredibly inspiring to be served and exposed to new ideas by this variety of professors, and at the same time also have students who are coming from all walks of life, who are at different positions in their lives, different places in their careers, in their families. And so that was incredibly inspiring. One of the things I really loved were my professors. They're professors who were incredibly knowledgeable about their courses in environmental science, philosophy, anthropology. At the same time, they were also very passionate about serving us as community college students. I attended college with students who were coming from all walks of life, who were in different places with their families and their careers, and so that diversity of experiences I think really enriched our classrooms.
Hello, my name is Richard Chacon, and I graduated from Columbia Basin College in 1992. I graduated from high school in 1989 at nearby Kiona-Benton High School, and I initially went to Central Washington University to play baseball. That was not a very good fit for me, and I came back to CBC to play baseball for Coach Scott Woodward. At CBC, I made dozens of lifelong friends, people I still consider friends to this day, and I became the student assistant for a professor named Noel Comering, and learned a great deal of responsibility in that role. A gentleman named Moody Staten got me into the PrEP program, a program through CBC, where I worked for the Pasco Police Department and I taught DARE. I also made really good friends, lifelong friends, with an English professor of mine, a guy named Rich Cummins, who was a Cincinnati Reds fan. And when leaving CBC in '92, an administrator named Jim Perez, who's still a good friend of mine to this day, suggested I attempt a fellowship at Gonzaga Law School. Thanks to Jim, with some help, I got that fellowship at Gonzaga Law School, and then I applied and was accepted to Gonzaga University, where I graduated with my 4-year degree. I then applied to law schools all over the country, and I got a full tuition scholarship to University of Southern California here in LA. I came back, got my law degree, and I practiced criminal defense here in LA. I'm sure that there's some correlation there with my time at the Pasco Police Department, and definitely a lot of correlation between my success in life and my time and the nurturing I got there at CBC. And so to all of you, I say thank you.
One of the other big advantages is learning how to navigate a college system and figure out, how do I go to office hours? How do I talk to a professor? What happens if I get a bad grade? Because in high school, I think there's a lot of hand-holding, and to some extent that's really good. And at CBC, it's not like you ever feel unsupported, but it is a really good training platform to figure out, how do I do this college thing? And how do I feel like I'm self-sufficient and succeeding in this place on my own accord? So it's a really empowering experience in a lot of ways. I think that was a big fear before doing Running Start is, oh man, I'm gonna be surrounded by hundreds of students, professors aren't gonna know my name. I don't think that was the case at all. There's a few introductory classes that are a little bit larger, but my class sizes are usually around 20, 25 students. Professors knew who I was. They said hi to me in the hallways. It definitely felt much smaller than I had perhaps feared. how wonderfully diverse the student body is, and just how you can have classmates from all different walks of life, and there's a lot to learn from that. For instance, in I think it was my first chemistry class here, my lab partner was 50 years old, had raced the Iditarod for 10 years, and that was a race I was very obsessed with when I was younger for some reason. But there was just so much knowledge that he had, maybe not of redox reactions, but of just life that I learned a lot from, and I think that's the case in a lot of interactions I had with students here. It was just so much to learn from personal experience that I wouldn't have gotten, I think, if I was siloed within a high school context. There's just a lot to learn from everyone, where they were coming from, what they were doing, why they were here.
Hi, my name is Jessica. In 2010, I graduated simultaneously from high school and I obtained my Associates of Arts from CBC. I was part of the Running Start program. CBC made college affordable for my family, and it was the challenge that I was seeking during that time. I remember the professors and the coursework well prepared me for when I transferred to Gonzaga University to complete my bachelor's in psychology. I think back to CBC and my first psychology course. I remember within the week, I knew that I wanted to be part of the mental health community. I knew that I wanted to be a helper. I remember all the different courses I had to take and all the paperwork I had to do, and how smooth and helpful CBC was in my transferring to complete my 4-year degree in 2 years after completing my AA. I later completed my master's degree at Pacific Lutheran University in marriage and family therapy. And now I'm home. I'm back in the Columbia Basin. I work as a mental health counselor. And I've been doing it and I love it. I love being back in my community serving. I want to thank CBC for being that stepping stone in my life. It was a great opportunity and I loved it. Thanks.
I want to thank Rod Gadd for teaching me to plan the work and work the plan. You've given me a lot of awesome information that I've carried into the workplace and I use every day. Thank you so much. Brad Edwards, Contracts and Negotiations. Thank you for helping me become business savvy and understanding how to use contracts and to negotiate with people. Anissa Goyle, thank you so much for your holistic approach to project management and showing me that the people are the projects and helping me understand the concepts of risk. Dean Deborah Meadows, thank you so much for empowering me as a woman in the business place through the Women's Studies course that I took with you. Professor David Arnold, my joke when I was in your class was what happened in the diversity class stayed in the diversity class, because it was a little like Vegas and a little dicey sometimes. But I will tell you that I really appreciate you teaching me to, as a businesswoman, sit at the table, and I know you'll know what that means. Rick Smith, my environmental science teacher, thank you so much for the wealth and knowledge that you gave me while I was in your course. You helped me to face my profession with environmental consciousness, and I really appreciate that. That's a huge skill that has helped me greatly, especially when I work for the Department of Energy now. Anthony Lopez, awesome guy. Thank you so much for being such a great support and a wonderful counselor for me as I finished my studies at CBC. Terry Fleischman and Phi Theta Kappa, thank you for your support as I made it through my studies. And thank you so much, everyone in the project management program and at CBC for helping me live my dreams.
I had the opportunity to represent the people of the United States in 5 different countries around the world, most recently Ethiopia, where I direct an office of 50 on consular services, coordinating with the Office of the White House and the Secret Service on Air Force One. I might be working with the staff and advisors of potential presidential candidates on matters of immigration policy or foreign policy. I could be working with the staff and members of Congress on constituent services. I might be working with the Department of Justice on the recovery of American citizens who are abducted into South Sudan. Or I could be working with other government agencies on the evacuation of Americans as a result of natural catastrophes or political crises. I developed important skills as a student at Columbia Basin College. Like most 18-year-olds, I really didn't have a sense of what I was going to do, and Columbia Basin College gave me a grounding. I also took courses at Columbia Basin College from instructors that cared enough to know me by name, who challenged me, and who held me accountable both for my ideas and for the quality of my work. I took courses that opened up possibilities, that made connections between various people and ideas and places and time. And I also took courses that focused on the community and effective community change. I work every day with graduates from Harvard and from Yale, from Berkeley, from Dartmouth, from Ivy League schools. And I am convinced that graduates of community colleges can go head to head with the best of them. And I am convinced that the quality of education at the school competes with anything that you could get in the first 2 years at any public or private institution in the United States. I am proud of my service to the people of the United States, and I'm also proud to be a graduate of CBC. To all the instructors, administrators, faculty, and staff at CBC, I say this: thank you. To any student that is considering CBC as a potential educational option, I say go for it. You can't go wrong.